Welcome back to the Happy Homestead. Today we are going to make some sourdough English muffins, and this is part of the Make Bread 365 challenge that we're going through in the year of 2023. And English muffins is the bread of choice for the month of June. So if you've been following along, and if you haven't, you should. Make sure you click and watch the playlist and you can see all the bread products we've been making thus far. But the whole point is that you learn how to make different bread products, something new each month for the year of 2023, and eliminate your need to go to the store to buy those things. We haven't bought any bread products in, well, definitely not this year. It's possible we had bought some things over the holidays late last year, but sandwich bread, gosh, or artisan like sourdough loaves or biscuits, I mean, all those kinds of things. I haven't bought anything in over a year. So that is a win, and I want to get you there too. So today we're going to make our sourdough English muffins. This is obviously a sourdough recipe, and usually I start these recipes in these videos with my starter already active, already mature. It's not, it's actually, I know that the rubber band is here, but I fed it 2 days ago. It's already gone down. So instead of getting all that done behind the scenes off camera, I'm just gonna do it here and show you. Props to my sister-in-law, Lori, because she is making her own sourdough starter right now and beginning her sourdough journey, and I'm so excited for her. And you need to do the same. If you have not yet dove into sourdough, do it. Do yourself a favor and do it. It's a learning experience. It is a journey, but it is so rewarding and it's better for you. Sourdough is actually so much better for you. You eliminate the need to go buy the instant yeast, and the sourdough is actually like a fermented product. It's a fermented yeast, which is good for our guts anyway and helps things better digest. So what I need to do is take some of this away. I'm just gonna take, I don't know, maybe half away. I don't really measure, I kind of eyeball it. And then I'm gonna feed it, but I'm going to save what I take away. That is called the discard. And make sure you are subscribed to the channel because I am also going to start doing a lot more videos on what I do with the discard to give you some ideas. My jar is crusty. I do need to get a different jar, but for now I am just gonna start pouring some of this out. And the whole reason we discard, I know that sometimes this concept can be a little confusing, but the whole reason we do it is because if we didn't, our sourdough starter would grow and grow and grow and take over our lives. We can't let that happen. So that is why we discard and then feed. It's to keep it in check. Okay, so I took, maybe half away. Kind of hard to tell on the jar now, but I'll tell you half away. And then I tared my scale to 0. I do equal parts flour, equal parts water. I don't actually necessarily look for a specific number, but I'm probably gonna go to, I don't know, 70. There we go, 70. I would always recommend going above 50, but less than 100. Certainly that depends on how much starter you need for your recipe, but by doing it this way, I usually have between 1 and 2 cups. And you never want to use all your starter, right? Because you need some of that bacteria to grow and feed on the next. Now I'm going to add 70 grams of water. This is grams, by the way. And go slow with the water because it goes a lot faster than you think. Oh, see, there's 75. Not a big deal, but I am pretty anal retentive about that kind of stuff. So I'm gonna add 5 more grams of flour. Okay. I'm just gonna mix it up. Once it's all mixed, I'm gonna go get a clean jar. I usually clean and replace my jar about once a month. It's just normal that your jar is gonna get crusty. When I was first doing my sourdough journey, like first in it, like the first year, I'm a clean freak in general. You may not always be able to tell in my house because I live with 3 other people who are not always clean freaks, but I am. And having a jar look like that, it would give me anxiety. Not really anxiety, but right, it bothered me. I'm like, why can't I have a clean jar? You just have to let go of the fact that when you are doing sourdough, your jar is not going to look perfectly beautiful like you'll see some curated pictures on social media. It's gonna get crusty. All right, so everything is beautifully mixed. I'm gonna show you the texture. It's almost like a thick paste, right? It's not too runny, but it's also not too thick, kind of like a paste. All right, I'm gonna go get a clean jar and I'm gonna take the rubber band off and I'm just going to pour it in. Did get a rubber spatula so I can really get as much as possible. I like to mix it in the dirty jar first, so I can pour it into my clean jar and have it just be gorgeous. Like, so when you're looking for that perfectly clean jar and it looks all pretty, this is when it's gonna happen. And this is the only time it will happen. I always just kind of eyeball it, get the rubber band right at the level. And look how pretty that is. That is the prettiest and cleanest this jar will look for a month. All right, I'm gonna set this on the counter, room temperature, and I'm gonna wait for it to double. And that's why I put the rubber band on. Some people will take a Sharpie and just mark the jar. That works too. You just need to be able to see where you've started so you can tell how much you've grown and when your starter is ready. Now for the discard, this is just a Tupperware container. I'm gonna put the lid on and put this in the refrigerator. We are going to use this for some more things. However, I don't know that I have enough right now, and I'm not making anything with this right now. So you put the lid on, keep it in the fridge, and it will be fine. You may start to see some gray kind of liquid start to form on top, and that's called the hooch. That's basically the result of the sourdough yeast digesting, right? That's kind of what their output is the hooch. And sometimes you can just pour that off down the sink, no big deal. But not only can this be used, but your discard is your insurance. Should something happen to your starter, you have a backup starter. In the fridge that goes. Now I am gonna wait until my starter is doubled. We'll come back. Well, it is a good 24 hours later since we fed our starter, but it's still above the line. You can see it actually has started to come down a little bit. So we're gonna go ahead and get this dough going. It wasn't ready last night, and then this morning it was ready, but I was not ready. And so that's the beauty of sourdough. Don't revolve your life around your sourdough starter or around your dough or your bread, right? Make it work for you. Okay, so the recipe I'm using, I will link it down below, but it's called Sourdough English Muffins, and it is from Little Spoon Farm. She calls for 100 grams of active sourdough starter, 20 grams of a sugar. It could be honey, maple syrup, or just sugar. I'm gonna use cane sugar today. 1 cup, about 240 grams of milk, 3 cups or 360 grams of all-purpose flour. I am actually gonna be using an all-purpose einkorn flour today. Sea salt, and then we'll use cornmeal for sprinkling tomorrow when we actually cook them on the cast iron skillet. So it is 5 o'clock at night, so actually a little more than 24 hours since I fed my starter. We're going to put the dough together. We're gonna let it sit for about an hour, and then we're gonna knead it, hand knead it for about 5 minutes and let it rest on the counter overnight, and then we cook it tomorrow. So this recipe is fantastic because it requires such little hands-on time. So I always like to use recipes that measure by weight and not volume. I think it yields a better result in the long run. So I am going to start with getting 360 grams of my einkorn all-purpose. You can use regular all-purpose. You can even grind some of your own flour. I would even do, I would do a hard white wheat, but I would also even consider spelt or a soft white wheat also. All right, and we're gonna do a teaspoon of Redmond real salt. Now, because I'm using einkorn, that sometimes tends to be a stickier dough. So I'm using, it calls for 240 grams milk. I'm probably gonna go to 230 and start there, but if you're using an all-purpose, you're gonna do exactly what the recipe says. It's just that einkorn can get a little finicky with the hydration ratio. All right, 1 tablespoon sugar I'm going to add to my milk. And then we are going to add our starter, 100 grams. I've tared my scale so I can get an accurate reading here. Everything mixed together. You'll see that this dough is sticking to my fingers more than other doughs, and again, that is because this is the einkorn all-purpose flour. Einkorn all-purpose flour is just, in general, a stickier dough. But you're going to want to use your hands and make sure you get everything together in a good ball. All right, that's good. We're gonna let this sit for an hour. I am gonna cover it. We'll come back in 1 hour and knead it. Good morning, we're back and we are ready to get our English muffins shaped out. So on the counter here, I have some cornmeal, a biscuit cutter, and some parchment paper. The first thing I'm going to do is sprinkle some of that cornmeal on my parchment paper. And we're going to take our dough ball. Now, there are beautiful gas bubbles in here, so you do not want to use a rolling pin or crush these in any way. You're just going to kind of stretch it out. You want to get to about an inch thickness. And then you're gonna take your biscuit cutter and start cutting out your English muffins. So we got 8 English muffins cut out. I'm going to sprinkle with some more cornmeal. Cover with a tea towel or your beeswax. And let sit for 1 hour to rise at room temperature, and then we'll come back and cook them. Our 1 hour is up. I have 2 cast iron skillets here on the stove. I'm preheating them. They are properly seasoned. Now you don't need to go add any type of oil or fat to your cast iron pans, but you do want to make sure that they're properly seasoned so that we don't have any sticking issues. And again, the cornmeal kind of helps with that. That is why you put cornmeal on both sides, just to kind of help with making sure that nothing really sticks to the pan. But I have them preheating on a medium to medium low heat. We are going to put our English muffins 4 and 4 in each of the pans. If you have 1 pan, you just do 2 batches, 2 rounds. And we're gonna cook it for 4 minutes on each side, but we're gonna cover them with a lid to kind of help trap some of that steam into the pan also. We're gonna flip. 4 more minutes. So once these are done cooking, I'm going to put them on a plate, let them cool for a little bit. I will cut into one and show you what it looks like and maybe have some butter with it myself. But the rest of them can either stay on your counter just as you would store bread. They can go in the refrigerator, or you can let them cool and then freeze them and then use them later on as well. I would recommend that if you plan on freezing, slice first so that when you thaw, they're already sliced and easy to go, ready for you. One of my favorite things to do with these are to make like a homemade egg sandwich with either some ham or bacon and cheese, and obviously like a over medium or over hard egg. That's one of my favorite ways to use these for a quick breakfast in the morning. One more thing I wanted to mention. After I put my dough together yesterday with my starter, I just put my fabric and ring back on it. I did not feed it again. I've just been leaving it on the counter, so it's been there all night. I leave my sourdough starter on the counter as long as I know that I plan on using it at least once a week, sometimes twice a week. And I only feed it when I'm thinking, oh, I want to make something and I need some active starter. So you don't feed it regularly and keep it going, because honestly, that's a waste of your flour, a little bit of your time, and then unless you're trying to get a lot of discard, that's a waste of your starter. So I only feed when I need it. Otherwise, it's on the counter. If I don't plan on making anything within a week, or we're gonna go on vacation, I will put a regular lid on it so it doesn't get dried out inside, and put it in the refrigerator for longer term storage. Bon appetit. It's got that perfect sour flavor from sourdough. The outside is really crunchy and crispy, but not too crispy. And the inside is just beautifully soft. I hope you'll consider making your own English muffins. I'll post the link down below for the recipe. Again, I used einkorn all-purpose. You can use regular all-purpose or any other wheat flour that you have. That concludes our June Make Bread 365 challenge. Next month, we're on to baguettes. Thanks for joining me today. Stay healthy, stay well. Bye-bye.